What's up, everyone? How's it going? It's just me up here tonight. Boston isn't feeling too good. I see she's in chat. What's up, that guy? My tube, Ashley. Good to see all of you. Thomas, good to see you again. What so what were your thoughts on the movie? What were your takes on it? I know I have quite a bit that I want to talk about, but I'd love to see in chat what you have to say about it. TJ, green light go. What is going on? So I will say, yeah, you knew they were actors. Yeah, I questioned it throughout, about halfway through, and then yeah, I got no new hats to show. No new hats to show. That guy thought it was brilliant. I extremely enjoyed it. Um, the girl with the dark hair seemed fake from the minute she met them. Well, I mean, there are just fake people in the world too. Yeah, the cuts were terrific. They really played a major part in that. I think conveying the story, without those cuts, would some of those messages have come off as good as they did? I don't know. Said Rusty Shackelford says it was a great watch. Got my two really enjoyed it. Good and so that is exactly what thank you, Zach, for the nice little segue. So yeah, it took liberties from what would happen in an actual immersive or an extreme haunt. But that was for camera value and whatnot. But I think that it showed really good, it gave you a good idea of what to expect. There's certain things that happened in it that wouldn't happen at an extreme haunt. Like, for instance, forcing the girl who's vegan to eat. She probably, with her conveying the fact that she was vegan already, that probably would have broke some sort of fourth wall, and they probably would have said when she was fighting back, okay, this isn't for her, and they probably would have pulled her from it at that point. But certain things in there. So let's talk about that while we're talking about it. The If you have a food allergy, now a good extreme haunt or immersive, when you sign up, if you are going to partake in eating something, that will be brought up right away. Now, you as a patron, for what I do, if I don't see that brought up, I usually do reach out and let people know that I have a shellfish allergy just in case. And I'll say almost 99% of the time, if it wasn't in the waiver, the people are like, oh, well, it wasn't, we don't do any food. That's why we didn't even have it in there. But thanks for letting us know, you know. So it's always good to make sure if you do have any allergies, whether it's in the waiver or not, that you do bring it up. And if it's in the waiver, right, just signing, yes, I have a shellfish allergy. When you show up to that show, you should let whoever is checking you in remind them, you know. Um, it doesn't, I haven't heard of any accidents happening. I'm not saying that it never has, but from what I know and my experiences going through and talking to a lot of these creators out there, nobody's really had any issues. So it is always good that you bring it up, you follow up with it. There's no reason to risk something happening. And if it says that you're going to eat something in it, don't think you're going to be the lucky one that doesn't. Expect to eat something in these shows. And what I didn't know, I found this out later, and thankfully I didn't have an allergy to it, was crickets are considered crustacean. Now, I don't know if it's the cricket itself or the factories where they are, not the factories, but the warehouses where they get them. Is are they cross contaminated or what? But I noticed, I believe it was like 17th door I went to, and they asked if you had any allergies. I said shellfish, and they put a band on me. They did something. I can't remember if it was a band. This was a few years back, and they told me I couldn't eat any crickets when I was there, and that's when I found out and talked to them about it. And they said, yeah, it's when we get them, it's in the packaging saying that if you have a shellfish allergy, you can't eat them. So it's always good to bring up the stuff and have that conversation. It's so wild how much less intense and brutal that was versus MM. Was always too worried they were all intense to try that one. So there is definitely different types of intensities for shows. Now, the videos that we see of the San Diego days at MM, I haven't witnessed that, you know, in any of the experiences I went to. I know Victim Experience was very rough and a brutal show. It was done right, it was done professionally, and it was a different outcome than what happened at MM. But as for the intensity level, I would probably put that closer to the San Diego MM days. And Victim is no longer around. I think the next closest to physical intensity would probably be Crucible. And compared to what you saw in MM, it is nothing. It was almost like a medium compared to what we watch now and what you see in the MM movies. Yeah, don't lie about medical issues. Most experiences will make exceptions, or if they can't let you know whether or not it's good for you or not. Can you tell us a few things that make people tap, or does that give too much away? Um, well, I can be generic with it, right? I won't hone into a specific experience, but things that make people tap, it's always different. Water is probably the most common because that is used a lot, and it's a fear a lot of people have. I mean, putting splashing water in a person's face even for a second, right? If you're not in the right mindset, that can really get you to tap. Other people don't like shocks, and they can tap from that. Other people just get too tired. I can't tell you how many times I've seen going through these various experiences where people tap, and like I'll talk to almost everybody that goes through afterwards. I'll arrange a meet up or something just to get their take on the experience and why they tap. A lot of them just hit a point where whatever that story was, that experience was, they got what they needed out of it, and they didn't need to finish. And that was their cue to just call it a day. And that's completely fine. With these experiences, especially the endurance ones, such as like Crucible, um, it's not about lasting to the end. Yeah, everybody wants to last to the end when they show up there. That's your goal going into it. But realistically, it's all about you. Did you get what you needed out of that show? Right? Whether it was 5 hours in or 8 hours in. Once you get what you were looking for and it has served the purpose that you wanted to find out about yourself, that limit that you wanted to push, and you don't feel that there's anything more to test you, why sit through it anymore? You can leave. At that point, you may become numb to it. You may think it's stupid. You may be out of the moment. But That's for the endurance ones. When you go to a immersive that is also like cross extreme haunt, um kind of like Thomas, I'm going to throw you out there, like your show, from what I heard, it's good blend, it's good mixture of things, right? And those shows, though, there's a narrative, there's a story, there is something that you want to finish that story, you want to get through it and see it to the end. So a lot of people don't tap on those shows because that little splash of water that you may get might not be worth not seeing the outcome of the experience you're going through. Now, oh, cool. I'm not gonna talk about too much because I want to have you on panel to talk about it, and we will be doing that soon. So, as far as it comes to tapping on shows, um, zero safe words. That's fucking beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. Um, that guy. You have acted in many different shows with all different creators at that. I would love to hear your take because, especially at some of the ones that you've worked at, there is a high traffic going through. So I don't even know how many people quit there. But for me, I don't think that in these other shows, these more personal shows, the quitting rate or the tapping rate is that high. Dystopia made me much more curious about trying something like this. Would you say 17th Door is the best? Yes, 100%, Zach. 17th Door is a great starter to see if you want that physicality. It's something that is open to the public. Remember, all ages, all different ages are going through, or it might be 18 and up. I could be wrong on that, but it's open to the masses. You're not getting selected to go through it, and it's very good starter. Another one, if you are in the area of Salt Lake City, Castle of Chaos's level 5 experience is what a lot of people have done. That kind of gives you an idea of what Crucible is like without going the full gauntlet of Crucible. And then if you just like immersive shows, if you don't like the physicality that that comes with some of these other shows, you don't like, besides maybe just a hand on a shoulder or being moved in a certain direction, Delusion in California is just mind blowing. Me and Brandon went to that last Halloween, and I had heard about it for years. Always interested in going. This was like, I want to say this was probably my third show that was kind of like a just immersive. Didn't have any extremes, and I didn't know what to expect. I had always heard good things. It exceeded my expectations. There was special effects done that I don't know how they pulled it off. They had monsters that looked so damn good. I forgot that, it was as if I was in a different reality. It was just these things just chasing you through a house, hordes of zombies chasing you through a mansion. It was just mind blowing. So there is a lot, and that is the problem with the Manor. Is that's like the spotlight haunt that people see when they Google extreme haunts, and they have all right to assume that's what they're all like because the other ones are so underground. You don't know a lot about them, and you don't. They're not like that, and it's really cool that we have people like you, Zach, who are doing your research. You're coming here, you're hearing and seeing that okay, what I saw and what I judged originally is not what it's really like. Now, there was a few things in the movie that me and Boston talked about afterwards that we were like, is it right? Was that right? Could that happen in the show? And the one part was the actors dunking the other actors' heads into the toilet bowl. And what I took from that, let's say hypothetically, all the people in this were not actors. These were real people going through it. Okay. Would that be safe or not safe to do? Now, in the video, my argument to Boston was it's an edited video. We didn't see what happened in between. We didn't see if they just said, place your hand on their back, don't use force to hold them in. We didn't see that stuff. Now, if they told you to grab their head and hold them under and never and don't let them up for whatever they no matter how hard they try, that's where there's a major issue. And with this video, it turns out in the end they were all actors, but going in thinking this is a real experience, these aren't actors, you would question that, right? And I would say doing that to somebody else with force, you know. Yeah, and so if there's another actor there to stop it, that's another thing because you could have the illusion that you're doing, you know, could have the illusion that you are the one holding the person's head under when you're really not. Bunch of smoke and mirrors. Those are the smoke and mirrors that happen in an extreme haunt. Okay. Never let the audience torment an audience in a way that could. Yes, agreed. Agreed, Thomas. Would also like to state that in the video, you had two actors and technically safeties on hand to stop it. Yes. And that went to the point of we didn't know what was said when the camera was off. We did see hands on we saw the host hands at one point move the other person to let the other one up. So it's really hard to say with that. I would say though, if I went to an extreme haunt or an immersive and they told me to hold a person's head underwater and not let up on it until they quit, I'd probably be quitting and not going any farther because if they're having you do that to someone else, that could one, it's not right, but two, that's going to happen to you later down the line too, and you can get seriously hurt. So, it's all about the moment. These things will make you uncomfortable. They will make you question what's real and what's not. And my answer to that is if you ever feel unsafe, that's when you quit. There's no sense in going through. Um, and it's weird saying that because you're supposed to feel unsafe when you go to these things. That's part of the whole shtick, I guess, of an extreme haunt. But when you go to a good one, even though it may feel unsafe, you know that you're 100% safe. And that's one of those things that until you actually do it, it's hard to fathom it, right? Let's see. Like 17th door does allow people to choose who gets zapped in a chair. Yeah, so like 17th door has a gag, or they used to. I don't know if they still do. Let's leave that up as a surprise if they do or not. So no spoilers in chat. But at one point in time, there was a round of chairs that you would sit in, and you would have a little board with numbers on it. And you and your group could select what numbers. Now, if you all selected the same number, whoever was in that number chair, they were getting zapped. So you could team up and just keep frying the one friend that annoys you. Yeah, feeling unsafe is different than actually being unsafe. Um, TJ, if I'm not wrong, I believe you have attended level 5 before. I hope I didn't call you out on something, but how did you feel? Was that a starter extreme haunt for you? And how did that make you feel? I would really love to know. Yeah, Boston would be zapped so bad. So TJ agrees that it's a good starter one. I have never done the level 5 experience. I went there one time to go and do it, and I ended up becoming a clown and just jumping out and scaring people, and that was fun. It was definitely fun. So, do me a favor. If you guys have any questions about haunts or about the movie, feel free to put them in chat, or else I'm just going to kind of ramble here for a little while. It was just the right level for me. I felt really good after and wanted more. So, are you doing Crucible? And if you do Crucible, what level are you going in at? I'd love to know. Yeah, it's still very intense. Thanks, Carrie. So, all right. This October, Blackout is supposed to be coming back. Now, that one can go all different ways. You know, it could be extremely physical. It could be extremely, um, it could be um, a very rough show. It could be light touching. But Blackout is one of the originals, and I don't even know what that price point's going to be, and those tickets are going to be so hard to come by. Yeah, come on up, that guy. I will send you a link. Give me a second. Link is sent. All right, I saw something. I want to do Super Mario World at Universal so bad. And when they build the one in Florida, I really want to go to that because they have the Donkey Kong Country as well. I just want to eat Superstar so bad and get so much shit done. All right, we're just waiting for that guy to come on up. Yeah, yeah. Superstars equal meth, and you'll get a lot of shit done. You're gonna develop a really bad habit, but you'll get shit done. What's going on?
Who you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. So, the movie. You have worked in a lot of shows.
Yes.
How do you feel that that represented? Like I said, there's liberties that were taken because it's a movie. But how do you
Yeah.
feel that that represented as a whole for an immersive?
I mean, I feel like it was pretty good. I mean, I could have obviously done without the Russ parts, but I mean, overall, like, uh, the grouping was pretty standard when you do like larger group uh, events. Uh, the just the tasking for like depending on the show, obviously you get a little more of the endurance stuff, like the squats and the up and down stuff. But I mean, like a lot of the stuff I've done is more story based.
Now,
So
it's funny you brought up the exercising because that is like a comment that I get a lot because people watch MM and they see the boot camp stuff and it's just nonstop exercising, right? And
yeah,
yes, it's used in other haunts, but
I mean,
not
yeah,
to
we even
that.
use it at 17th Door sometimes in the line.
Yeah, but it's just not used to the extent that he does.
No, not at all. I mean, I don't know if he's just pulling from his boot camp days from his military experience, but yeah, that's the kind of stuff like I'll just talk about 17th Door because that's where we mostly have used it. But like if you're standing in line and you're waiting, customers get impatient, so they want a little interaction. So we'll go in there, we'll do squats with them, make them do that, think they're going to get a prize, and then maybe a little taser shock instead. Not me. I don't do I like to walk the line and threaten the taser shocks, and then I'll do it to myself.
Gotcha. You didn't
And then
taser
they're
me?
like, "No, I didn't taser you."
Wow, you're a nice guy. Everybody else fucking tasered me.
Yeah, that might have been my fault.
So,
But yeah, the exercise, like it's handy when you need a moment, but like don't. I would never lean in 100% into
right,
that.
right. Yeah, it's a good way to wear a person out a little. It's a good way to pass some time if you need to do setup in another room, like you said at the line queue. It's a good way to interact and get into people's heads really early. But doing it too much is just people aren't
Yeah, I
doing
mean,
it for fitness tests.
well, I mean, any gag, if you use it too many times, they start to get too immune to it, and they start to get angry as it happens. It's like, okay, back to the shock. Shock me once. All right, no, you're fine. All right, all right, all right. Shock me twice. Okay, that's mildly entertaining. If you go, I would never go honestly more than 2, 3 times on a person, just because. I mean, like people aren't built for that shit. Like just not coming off the street, they're not built for it.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
for tails, trails, and tacos, the shock compared to a horse fence shock is
a horse
extreme.
fence shock is worse, so much worse.
So the tasers that they use in these haunts, I would compare it to the same feeling of a very small burn for a quick second, maybe
Yeah,
almost like a pinch with a little bit of a burn to it, and within a second or two afterwards, it's gone.
yeah,
But
and honestly, it's worse if you know it's coming because then you
yes,
tense up, and that's where your problem lies with it. Your muscle's going to contract. You're already contracted. It's going to hurt more.
yeah, 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 and that's the getting the actual shock is so much better than the moments leading up to getting that shock because you will do whatever you can to not get that shock. Um, I know that for a fact because at 17th door, I think I took out everybody in our group to get away from getting tased. I remember poor Lydia got a tire thrown at her.
Oh, I heard about this in Field Trip. Yeah, you were the story of the night.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Well, they made it
I mean,
personal. They called me out
it
personally.
it did not help that like the lead chaser knew exactly who you were.
I know. I know. And so we're in there. It's me, Ben, Lydia, Jackson, Danny, and Brandon. And we get into a room, bunch of characters come out with tasers, and they do a little speech, and it ends with it being geared directly at me. And we're all hiding in this room. So what do? I know rule number one. You just have to run faster than your other friends. And I remember I was taking them out one by one to get past them. Um, and it ended up being just me and Jackson, and we took a wrong path and poor Jackson had bolted past me, and he hit the dead end first, so I turned around and ran the other way, and I got mine. I definitely got mine.
Oh,
There was no point in running. I was getting it either way. Oh, yeah.
but I mean, and like tasers are just another tool. And I saw that Boston had mentioned like there's a difference between police and other ones. We do not use police level
Right.
stuff. Like we're not looking to incapacitate people. We're just looking for a little shock. I don't even think we had the voltage turned up on those
No.
to the like I think we had them at the lowest setting at all times.
Hmm. And that's all it needs to be, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the taser we used on me in Black Masses Part 2, Part 2, was twice as bad as the 17th door ones.
So if anybody's wondering what that is, on this channel, I actually have a playlist with a bunch of Black Mass videos where we do interviews with the actors, talk about some of their past shows. And there is a spot where, how many times did you get tased?
62 times in a 4 nights run.
I remember watching the footage, and I didn't really know you at the time. And I was just like, this poor guy.
You want to know the worst part is? They wanted to fake it. I made them do it.
Well done. Hey, you know what? You're a method actor, and I love it.
Yeah. I still hear tasers and I kind of tense.
Yeah, give yourself 62 times.
But
a little extreme, but you do it for the art.
I do. But you know, I mean, there are shows that I've like. I worked with Ultra Dark on a really big show. Like there, I think there were 20 something actors. We were all in like this like small mansion off of out by the Hollywood Bowl, and like there was extreme stuff. But I mean, like I don't think we used tasers that night. I don't think we used breath gags. I don't like. Well, we kind of used breath gags, but like most of it was very story driven, and it was a show that was definitely not geared towards tapping out. You know,
right. And that's what a good show is, right? It's no most of these creators that I talk to, and I ask them about like how many people tapped or whatever, and they're like, "Well, I don't want people to tap. I want people to get through the show. I want them to experience the story I'm telling." I heard tasers are the gateway zappies to bigger and scarier things.
I am bigger and scarier things.
You are. You're a giant.
I do identify that way.
Not many people are taller than me, and I remember when we finally hung out in person, I was like, Jesus, this guy.
I think at least a foot of that though was the hair.
True. That was a costume.
But yeah, I mean, like, I get a good endurance show. I'm definitely not against them. Black Mass had a couple of them that we did like that. There's Ultra Dark has had a couple. I'm sure, like, if you go back in any show's history, like, there's some endurance level to some shows.
Yeah,
but like the idea is never to tap in those situations. It's always just to kind of nudge you to go a little farther. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, that's what I would say. Like Crucibles is right. The storyline in Crucible is very thin. There's a theme. There is possible storylines going on. They will incorporate something, in some of the rooms to be personalized towards you. But over the 8-hour experience, right? That story it's there, but it's very thin, and
Mm,
it's more of endurance. Get through the night. Get through the night. But even then, like you said, the goal isn't to make the person tap. The goal is for the person to have an experience and to push them to their limits and then just a little bit past. And if you do that at hour 5 and you quit, bravo. Good for you. You got
yeah.
exactly what you needed out of that show.
Yeah, exactly. And like nobody's going to berate you for that. You got where you could. I mean, honestly, from what I know of Crucible, they'll come out and they applaud you for
Oh, every time. Yeah. Yeah. I
it. You
mean,
know?
even signing up for it is a big deal. And they just, that place every year has been upping the production value more and more. And now, uh, even just signing up and showing up at the initial check-in is an experience in itself. From the first time I went to the last time I went with Ben and Danny, it was a completely different experience. Same theme, but the story, everything that was going on, the way the actors interacted with you, some of the characters, all of it was different. They're always improving. And that's why I love these guys so much.
And let me just say, that's what I love about like shows that continually go on. Like, um, for instance, like Blackheart Collective's Haunted House, um, Crucible. There tons of other shows that like they continue the story and they just evolve, and that's the great thing of it. Like there's that evolution. Like what can we do better this time? And
Mhm.
I love that all of these creators are thinking about that constantly.
Yes. Yeah. That is, a big thing. And I love working with the Blackhearts on collaborating on projects a lot. For me in Boston, there was a creator a while back that was kind of guiding me on shows and how to pace a story and whatnot. And I remember them telling me every show you can reuse some gags, ones that work good and whatnot, but every show you need that one wow factor, and your show should get that wow factor, and that should be what you put your attention and focus on to make it that much better. Work it around the story, make it whatever it is, but that wow factor is what will get the people loving it and coming back. And sure, maybe you use that one again later somehow, reformat it a little, but then make a new one and you just
That
keep building on it.
that is brilliant advice.
Yeah.
Actually, I love
And
that.
and if you think about that guy, I took that to heart. And with every remote show I did, there was something that me and Boston, we always went into it, starting it when we did the writing. What is going to be different about this show that is not the same from the other ones we did? Um, for instance, with the creator, when I did that, that show was the wow factor to it was that you, the audience, were the director and the writer of the show.
That was such a brilliant show, and I do hope you bring that back. Like I had so much fun doing that. That really was my first step into all of this.
It was a what I took from it, the learning curve that I didn't expect, was that it luckily the crew that the people that I had going through, you had done so many shows. But if we had anybody who had never done a remote show before, I don't think they would have been able to handle it because if you weren't a veteran to them, you might not have got the flow and how to do it because it was basically a writing workshop.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. And I mean, that just goes back to that whole thing. Like, hey, maybe this isn't for you. Let's
Mhm.
get you into something, and then when we rerun this, we will definitely get you in the next run.
Another thing that we did was when me and Boston created Nevermore. It is a 5-hour soundtrack that plays while you are going through the whole experience, and it times up perfectly with the lines and the action that goes on while the show goes on. Um, and depending
Yeah.
on the choices you make, different songs play, different scenes happen. It's a big choose your own adventure.
So I'm gonna beta test that soon, right?
Yeah, yeah. Whenever I get off my, trust me, if it were up to Boston, we'd be just doing that show. Yeah,
Well,
it's
what was the other one you guys did?
oh oh Boston. What's the name of the ghost hunt show that we did? This is real. Oh, something murders.
Yeah,
Penn Street murder.
Penn Street. Yeah, Penn Street Murders. Like that was such a good show for you guys. Like, and I mean, I know we're not referencing what's been going on, but like I'm sorry, I have to. Someone who said that you're no talent, like the stuff you guys create. Penn Street was amazing for me, and like you said, I've gone through remotes for years now. Like I think I don't think I've missed any of yours at this
No,
point.
yeah, no, you've done
Or
all of mine.
yeah, and I think I've done a good portion of Blackheart's like library, and like uh Penn Street was just amazing, especially with your I don't want to
No,
ruin
no,
anything, but like
I mean,
your
we're never going to
VIP
do time
tiers,
history. Yeah, so the
your
WoW
VIP tier and your regular tier was just that was mind blowing.
the wow factor for that one was just that the VIP and the regular show, and to the audience they thought, okay, so we get a few extra performance hours if we're the VIP, but what they didn't know was they were getting a completely different show than what the regular audience was getting, and they intertwined together, and at the end it just I loved how it all came together, and
Yeah, it was brilliant.
set you guys all up for failure, and hopefully everything made sense at the end of it. It was
No, it
one of
it
the most
did, and
complicated shows.
I'm not even gonna lie. Uh, Actually, I don't even know if there was a plan for like the for the bait if someone didn't take it at the. But I mean, like literally in the beginning of the show, uh, they have this scene where you take the bait that's supposed to like lead to the ending, and we all took it. Like didn't even think about it. We all took it.
Yeah. Yeah, we set up, and that was the nice thing. We set up the ending of the show within, I think, the first hour of a 3-day show.
Like that was brilliant. So like I mean, like the whole thing was just great, and you guys incorporated all of the ghost hunting stuff that you were learning when you were with hanging out with Get Haunted,
Yeah.
and like it was brilliant.
Oh,
Like
thank you.
I never like I've never done like an actual like ghost hunting investigation, and I felt like I was on.
Yeah, I mean, you guys went on a virtual ghost hunt, which we need to do more of those. I've been itching to get into some places. Definitely want to go to some more.
Yeah,
We
Queen
went
Mary. What?
Oh, dude, I do want to go to Queen Mary. I really, really do.
I mean, now's the time to do it. They're starting to open up the hotels and everything again for like guests.
Yeah.
Dark Harbor's apparently coming back.
Oh, that's sweet. So
Uh,
when haunt season starts, it just turns into a haunt, right? Like you can't do any of the.
so I don't know how they're going to do it this year. No, in the past, it has been like it's still been the hotel. The hotel has been in operation, but there are obviously areas that you wouldn't be able to go into that you normally could as a guest. But
Okay.
I don't know now what the deal is with the city because there was a lot of damages on the ship that they had to repair. I don't see
Hmm.
uh, them being able to have the mazes on the ship like they did in
Okay.
and that's just my opinion. I have no evidence of that. I it doesn't seem like it would be a good idea to me. But yeah, so they just announced that like I think 2 months ago that that's coming back. But it's not going to be the same company that's running it. It's going to be 13th Floor who does LA Hayride.
Oh, okay. That's not a bad
So I
one.
mean, like, yeah, like I mean, still quality production value, and like I guess they bought the IP for all of it, so like all of the old characters will be back and everything.
Oh, very
And
nice.
yeah, I'll enjoy showing up to see what they do, but I will be at 17th door.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a great one too.
Yeah,
Unless that dog kills you,
that dog's a puppy.
you're in his
He's
dumpster.
all bark, no bite. That's the neighbors.
Ah. So, yeah, I'm trying to think what else we got. I this well, I guess last Halloween I was back out in LA, but the time before that was during the pandemic, and I found it really cool how the shows adapted to the pandemic to continue going. Like, I did the Haunted Drive-In, which was like regular drive-in. You sat, you watched like three short independent horror movies. They're probably like 15 minutes long, 10, 15 minutes long each. And while those went on, themed monsters from those movies snuck up on you in your car and would scare you. I thought that was just a brilliant way to keep the distance, and separated from the customer and the actor. Kept the Halloween theme going. I thought that was brilliant. That's also when I did Black Mass. I did. Oh, I cannot remember the name of that show that I did
Was
then.
it the was that a live one or the remote one?
It was a live one.
Was it the one in the 2-story house?
Yes.
Inauguration.
I don't think it was that.
Uh,
It was one that I had never heard the name of before.
was Baker in it, or was that
No, no, no. It was none
okay?
of the characters from like the saga.
Okay. Oh, it was Rain. God, where is she when I need her?
But
No, I the one where she asks you all the questions and they troll through your Facebook account.
yes, yes,
Yeah, no, that was a brilliant show. I loved that show so much, and I don't want to ruin the gag at the end. It was
yeah.
brilliant.
That was an amazing gag. But
That was actually my birthday present from them.
oh really?
Yeah, they ran me through the show.
Oh, that's cool. But again,
Yeah.
that was another show that could go on when no, it wasn't Intimacy. It was around the same time though.
Mm.
That was another show that could go on during the pandemic. I just find it interesting how people can shift their shows around. Lucid when Lucid was around, my God, I know that I've talked about this a couple different times on a couple different lives, but they did two different shows for us. And the first one, it was the same. It was it was 2 days long. The first show, and I mean, they're not running anymore, so I really don't care. I'll talk about it. The first show I did was a contactless uh, immersive, and that was a big part of it. That at no point in time were you going to be physically contacted with the actors. And this was the day before I was going to Crucible. And so I had to meet in a parking lot. I had to walk like a block to a location, bang on the door and say a chant. And of course, right, as I'm walking, they had it all set up already. They had pictures of my wife at the time up on telephone poles saying missing, call this number. They had a fail on it though, because I did call the number and it didn't go anywhere. I think if you're going to put a phone number on a show, it should go somewhere. Get up to the door, knock on the door, they let me in. They had some people checking in before me. I saw on the list of names, and they were people that were associated to me in my real life. And I thought, wow, that, they did their research there. From there, they took my keys and my wallet, made me start talking to a person that basically did an audit on my life. And they were reading things that they were telling me things about myself that I'd never posted. Like, I don't know how they found some of this information and linked it. It's a lot of cold reads, but they did really fucking good. And so
That's wild.
Halfway through, they're like, you know what? It's all about fate. We like you. We're going to keep you. And so they ended up, and remember, this is like 4 years ago, so I'm trying to remember exactly. I could be missing some parts. They tell me that I need to see if I'll fit in with them. So they gave me a suit and a tie and an earpiece, and they said they were going to bring somebody in, and I had to audit them. And so I sit down, I got the suit, tie, earpiece in, and they bring out a person. They're zip tied and they're shaking and they're looking. And right away, I can hear them in the earpiece telling me the questions to ask. And that divulges a story, a backstory for this character that I'm sitting there.
Sounds like Scientology.
Yeah, I think it was very heavy on that, right? And so the person's telling me about their life and all that, and then all of a sudden the earpiece goes out. And I must have made a noise. I'm sure the actor just knew the cue at that time the earpiece was going to go out. And they look at me and they said, they can't hear us right now, can they? And they start telling me the truth of what's going on, that it's a cult. And I need to get out and I need to help them. And they're freaking out. And all of a sudden these people come in with suits and they drag them off. And they drag them into the other room, and you see some flashes of light and hear some gun pops, and then they walk back and they're like, so, we're good. Everything is good. Happy it worked out. But fate is what brought you here. Let's see if fate's going to keep you. And he pulls out a revolver, puts one bullet in the chamber, and he spins it. Puts the gun in his mouth, pulls the trigger, nothing happens. Hands me the gun. Says, fate is going to keep you. You got to do the same thing.
That is wild. That is so wild.
So I did it. And of course, nothing happened. They say, okay, we'll be in touch. I walk back to my car. I get to my car and I notice my car is not in the same parking spot that it was in when I left it. And I remember I had given my keys and all of that. I then get into the car and it is scattered. When I say thousands, I mean thousands of little striped, almost like Chinese cookie wishes saying, "We're always watching you."
Oh
Everywhere.
my
In the
god.
glove box,
That
under
is
the seat.
so cool.
And it was a fucking rental. So I turned on the air and they blew out of the vent at me. It's like,
Oh shit.
oh,
That's
so
beautiful.
so get this, right? It's me and there was a big group of us going to Crucible for the first time. It was supposed to be the last Crucible show ever. They were closing down. And so I'm like, okay, that we're not I really wanted to do Crucible. I went in at a level 10 because I didn't think there was never going to be a show again. And I heard Lucid was going. I had signed up for it before, but because of all the background research, they didn't have time to do more than just my show. And there was another person in our group that wanted to do the show too. And she had asked, and they had said, "Sorry, we can't do the show for you, but maybe we'll have something little and special for you." So Crucible starts. We're in the check-in phase, and I'm being me, and you know how I am when I go to shows. I am a dick. I am cocky
Mm.
as hell. I love to run my mouth. I don't shut up. It's a horrible trait. And
Yeah, how'd that work out for you in the van?
it never works out. It never I can't tell you a situation ever where it worked out. But so I'm running my mouth. Crucible crew throws me to the ground right off the bat to make an example of me. And out of nowhere, these goggles go over my face. And I hear this voice, and it says, "Mr. Smith, we told you that we'd be watching you." I knew right away who it was, that this was the man that I just played Russian roulette with the night before. And goes to the girl that had wanted to sign up for a show, and he said, "She reached out to us too. So we thought, you know what? You know us. She'll trust you. Let's go for a little field trip." And so they take us, they wrapped our arms, they put these like blackout glasses on us, and they told us to run. Run straight as fast as you can, and you got to trust that we will not let you get hurt. And so I did. And it was terrifying. And they stopped me and they take the glasses off. And I'm saying I was less than a foot away from a wall. Like that freaked me out. She does the same thing. We get into the car. There's two guys waiting in the vehicle. We're in the back seat. And they say, "I want you to look around. We are outside, we're actually going somewhere. Put your glasses on." We put them back on. We drive for a while. They tell us to take it off, and they're like, "I want you to see." We pulled over to the side. We're about to get onto the expressway. We are actually going somewhere. Put the glasses on. They did it again to show us like the mile markers throughout. We were going quite a few miles away. Finally, we get to a location. They take her out of the car. They leave me in the car. I'm just sitting in there by myself. I got these blackout glasses on. Don't know what's going on. Mind you, Crucible has started. I'm wearing a hospital gown. They then come out, they zip tie my hands, and they bring me into a room. And sure enough, she's sitting there with the earpiece on and the glasses, and she's doing the audit on me. And all of a sudden, it comes full circle, right? The guy I interviewed the night before, was he going through this? I saw him get shot at the end.
That's fucking crazy. I love this so much.
And so I'm sitting there, and Chris kicks in, starts running his mouth, and I start saying, it's all about trust. Does this look like fucking trust? You got me zip tied here. I'm supposed to trust you. I know how this ends. Like, what are you doing? And sure enough, these guys come out and they grip me up and they pull me out. And they take me and slam my head down on the ground. And there's a car and there's a tire. And they take out the blackout glasses so I can see the tire in the car. They put it on, put the glasses back on. I know how all the gags work, and it's 1000% safe, even though when I'm about to explain it, it's not going to sound like it at all. Put the blackout glasses on, and I feel the tire pressing on my face. And they say, if you don't fucking tell us what he told you last night when the mic cut out, we're going to pop your head. And then they start revving the car, and they're screaming at me, and I'm screaming. He didn't tell me anything. And we're going back and forth like that for a while. And finally, they're like, success. I guess he didn't, because you would have told us. So now stand up, and we want you to strip. And I'm like, what? They're like, we want you to strip. I was like, there's a girl with me. I'm not going to do that. That's going to be uncomfortable for her. I look over. She's already stripped. And I'm like, that's fucking great, because I really just didn't want to. So then we have to strip, and we're standing there, and they give her a gun, and they say, Mr. Smith played roulette with us before, and he won, but we're still not sure. So we want you to shoot him. And they put a bullet in the chamber for her, and they have her try to fire at me. You know, she's very hesitant. I guess in her storyline in real life, she had issues with guns. And so that was like her limit, to push her limit. And I'm telling her, just do it. Just do it, because they're going to do it to you if you don't do it to me. She does it. Gun doesn't go off. We're fine. They then pull out some gasoline. They let us smell it. And then they start walking around, pouring it all around us. They tell us to lay on the ground, put the goggles on. We put the goggles on. They start splashing it all over us. Tell us to stand up, take the goggles off. We take the goggles off. And he's standing there with a lit match. And he says, this is the last test of fate. If you do not burn, you are meant to be. And with that, he drops the match, and fire lights up all around us. It was fucking wild. And then he had a brand in the fire and said, now we're going to brand all of you. Put your glasses on. And then they branded us. It wasn't a real brand, of course, but we had like a lucid tattoo on our sides. They take us back to Crucible, and we're in the car, and we're like, what the fuck did we just go through? Now we got to go through Crucible? Like, we just did all this, and now we got to do Crucible? We're freaking out. And I'm like, it has to be like 2 hours that we were gone. There's no way. And we get to Crucible, and I see everybody sitting there waiting for us. And I'm like, so what have you guys done? They're like, we just finished checking in. They hadn't done shit yet. So then we had to go through the whole 8 hours. And me and her were the only two out of that group that made it the whole 8 hours at level 10. It was fucking wild.
Holy shit. That's amazing.
Yeah, that one, yeah, me and her had each other's back, and there was moments where we thought we were going to quit for sure. I was so, by the end, I mean, having all that happen before and then going through that endurance, by the end, my mind, I was so incredibly immersed. I thought that I was in Crucible for years. I thought I was in there, and I had enemies. And I remember with the one actor, like, I think they got scared because I had told them, if you're smart, you just won't release these restraints, because as soon as I get out, I'm coming at you. Like, they were my bad guy. And I remember they had to get a couple people to zip tie me, and we got into an argument. I had a hood on my head, and we're screaming at each other, and I'm like, motherfucker, just undo this zip tie and I'll show you how fucking tough I am. And they take off the hood, and it's all the people that had quit. We have finished the show, and I didn't know it. It's all the people that had quit. I'm like nose to nose with one of the guys. He's like, dude, I thought you were about to beat my ass, man.
Yeah, that's fucking amazing, man. Like, I mean, that's a 10-hour show. That's endurance. That's like a storyline show on top of all of that, and then Crucible story on top of that.
Yeah,
like that's fucking. That is a lot.
It was definitely a lot, but it was so fucking fun. Um,
I think the longest show I've acted in is like maybe like a 3 hour show. Like I
okay.
can't even imagine a guest going through 10 hours of stuff.
They're in Michigan. I know California had a thing similar, but I feel the setup was different. But we had an overnight extreme haunt camp out, and like
Uh yeah.
it,
Raina, Chainsaw Queen, was part of that.
oh, was she? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I heard great things about the California one, but I also heard like what the experience was completely different from the one that I went to. And it was a fairground that I went to, and they had 3 haunts, and it was fucking cheap. It was like $75, right? I'm sorry, it was 4 haunts. It was 3 buildings and 1 hayride. So they had a live band, they had an open bar. You set up your tent, you went till midnight to all the haunts. Dinner was included. You got dinner, you got drinks. You could watch, if you got through all the haunts, you could watch horror movies on the projectors outside around the campfire. And then midnight it closes down. You go to your tents, and then they remove all the barricades in the haunts, and you go from midnight to 3 on a scavenger hunt. And you got to go to all the back rooms and these haunts and that, and make deals with the monsters and do gross things and challenges to trade up items to get better items. And then once you do that, they give a trophy to whoever has the most points. I never even came close, but it was really fun. When you get back to the campground, they tell you to go to sleep. And you try to go to sleep, but sure enough, a semi pulls up and all the monsters jump out. They rip you out of the tents, they zip tie you, and then they take you to each of the stations along the hayride trail, and they auction you off to the monsters, who then do whatever they want with you. And
Within reason.
within reason. Now compared to these other extreme haunts, I mean, it was not, it was a cakewalk for me. Like, I mean, when I say they do whatever they want with you, they just get in your face and make you eat like nasty pudding. That was about the most extreme thing. Or you had to go kind of like diving for apples, but it was like a pool of blood. It wasn't real blood, but it was like blood, and you would have to bob for apples. What? Oh, Chris, what? Or that guy.
Okay. What? Do you deal with this often?
So much, so much. Oh, easy listening. So
Ah, easy listening.
I don't even know if you know the origin story of easy listening.
I don't know the origin. I just know that I'm the crazy asshole who did it 3 times now.
Yeah. So for I'll give a quick summary of what easy listening is for everybody that's watching. Easy listening is an audio soundtrack that you listen to after you've already fallen asleep. The instructions to it, though, are to right before going to bed, you have to watch a video that has a bunch of disturbing clips in it with subliminal messages hidden throughout the whole thing. Have you ever caught those? With how many times
The
you've watched it?
subliminal messages.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't think I have.
Yeah, there's a bunch of subliminal messages throughout that video. And so
Now I'm gonna go back and listen and watch it. God damn it!
so I can't remember what they say. It's nothing super special, but there's definitely stuff in it. So you watch this video, you fall asleep, you have an alarm set for 2 hours later. As soon as the 2 hours alarm wakes you up, you put on your headphones and you fall back asleep listening to the easy listening. And it starts out nice and smooth. And for this run that we just did of advanced treatment, because I was just using all the old materials, I didn't have the I didn't remake it, but usually when I have people go through whatever your fears are, if you have a fear of snakes, if you have a fear of spiders, I try to put sound effects in it throughout so that it sprinkles in all your different fears and it will get to somebody. There's also a lot of disturbing audio clips in there. Um, and it's to basically startle you up out of your sleep. Thing is I didn't know people were doing it, and people kept having a similar thing where they would have dreams of faces, and a lot of them were like elongated smiles that they would see in their dreams. And I don't know where that really comes from. I mean, there's one clip in the movie that's in there.
I had doll heads
You had doll heads, yep.
every time too. All 3 times, doll
Really?
heads.
Wow,
Hmm.
that's crazy.
Like I was in a fair and I was walking down the thing, and there were like Cupid doll heads, and it was just the Cupid doll heads,
That is
and they were like turning and watching me go down this lane.
wow.
Like it was nuts.
And the thing that I notice is you got to do it with headphones. A lot of people that don't do it with headphones, I've heard, have not had any reaction to it. But the ones that do it with headphones, the majority of them uh, would have this dream. And it was, I remember one guy sent me a picture. He had kept a notepad next to his desk so that if he woke up with any dreams, he could write down some notes. And it looked like something a serial killer wrote. It was just like this really elongated smile, just like 100 times all over. It was so fucking creepy. I loved it. But the origin story of that was WP, who made Dystopia. During the pandemic, was like, hey, we these haunts are all being shut down. People are losing money. We need to do something to get these haunts money. And I think we can do online immersives. And so we came up with, it was called Call from Restricted. Yeah, it was just the first Call from Restricted. It was an online immersive, and it ended up going like 60 some days. I felt like it was never going to end. But it wasn't a Discord show. Discord, we weren't doing them on Discord yet. I think Black Hearts were the only ones doing the Discord at the time. This was phone
What was
calls,
that?
emails,
I was
Facebook groups, and every day you would be given like a task of something you would have to do and make a post. And in that, we had all different storylines. And I was doing a Lovecraft storyline that was kind of like a blend of all different Lovecraft stories. And in that story, there was a, oh man, I'm really bad with my Lovecraft lore. There's a monster that basically we are all that monster's dream. And when it wakes up, existence is done, right? And so our reality was changing. So we had to scare it. We had to startle it out of this dream with a nightmare by all of us having a nightmare at the same time together, the same nightmare. And so that's where the easy listening came from. And then
that's wild.
I carried it over, made some tweaks to it, and now it's in advanced treatment.
That's wild. I love that.
So, yeah, that's a way of reusing a gag.
Yeah.
No?
And I mean, it goes back to the whole thing of evolution. Like the gags evolve, the shows evolve, the stories evolve.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's the real good sign of like not just a creator, but a story.
Yeah.
Or not just a story, but a creator. Whatever.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love having the stories change every time you do, and that's the nice thing about doing an immersive, right? You can do one run and be like, I liked it, but man, I thought this was going to land, and this part didn't really land. You can change it for the most part, and you can keep changing it until you're satisfied with it, because every run is a new run. When me and Brandon did Stag, on the spot, they changed the entire ending of the show for us because they realized who we were kind of siding with over what the main audience did. And it was fucking brilliant. Yeah, it's good to tweak things. It makes it better.
Mhm.
It's a good creator is somebody that knows that it's not perfect, right? It's never perfect. You can always improve, and you can improve and
Yeah.
improve. When me and Boston write stuff, I know she already knows that the first thing she gives me on, like, because like I'll our writing sessions go. I just kind of talk, and she types out stuff, and sometimes she'll start freestyling it and going on her own and just let me ramble and ignore me for a while. And she always knows that that first draft, whatever we have, is probably not even going to be close to what the main project ends up being, because we're just going to keep changing it.
Yeah. And I mean that's just good rapport you have to have with your partner too. I mean, I've
Yeah.
worked with a lot of people, and like
Oh shit!
adaptability is what.
The
What did we
Aurora,
do?
the Aurora Interactive is here. Everyone actually died during that experience at Dystopia.
Oh well, my condolences.
They were not.
Aurora Interactive, that was amazing. Fucking brilliant. Like, oh my god, I was so blown away by that whole thing.
Yeah, that was definitely wild. So, Aurora, how many runs? Was there any runs, or was it just a movie that was filmed? That's what I would love to know. And
Boston, you don't ask that question.
did it financially ruin you? I love the end part when WP comes out. It says, "I'm fucked. I'm fucked." It's not. It's
Well,
not. Oh my
I think it made it so much better, like just having that ending. Like, oh shit, what the fuck just happened? Oh my god, like no, it was brilliant, man.
They are buried at my house.
Well, can we private this so that way he doesn't get in trouble? Well, let's do
Aurora Interactive definitely does not care.
that. But I mean, like, I'm not even kidding. I watched that and like I had so many ideas going through my head. Like, oh my god, can I do something like? Can I? Ooh, I want to do something like this.
That's yeah.
Like, it was inspiring.
I watching it was like, wow, you could film a movie of people just going through. Like, you pick one group, you're running it for everybody, but you pick one group and you have a camera person with them. It may break the immersion a little bit because there's a camera there, but so they get a discount ticket or they're a friend of yours. And you run the experience, and people would pay to see that, or have hidden cameras, and you
Yeah.
just edit it together.
Well, I mean, and you've interviewed Black Mass. We were all about like camera angles and
Yep.
like putting stuff together at the end.
When I talked, I this Halloween when I was at Fear Experiment, I ran into Justin Brink, and we went out to eat, and I asked him, I was like, your stuff, it's very cinematic, the images that you show and all that. And so when you write a show, an in-person show, do you in your head like have a camera? Do you have storyboards? Do you know what you want the image as your audience being that camera, the visuals that they are going to see in the directions and framed up by how you place them and sit them? Like, do you go through all of that, or do you just have like a room that's open? And he was like, yeah, no, man, the audience is the camera. And I sit in the places that they sit, and I see the visuals and know all the different angles that they're going to see. And that is how I do the lighting. That's how I do the sound.
That's wild. I actually do the opposite.
Really?
But I'm coming from like as an actor, like what am I wanting them to see? Like from my standpoint, like they're looking at me, but what part of me do I want them to see? Do I want them to be looking at my hand? Do I want them to be looking over my shoulder? Do I want to draw attention this way? And
Right.
that's kind of where I go with it.
Very nice. Yeah, and I don't want to get into your. I want to get into your show, but we're gonna wait for
Yeah.
Boston.
Yes, we have to wait for Boston because she will murder us and hide us under her house.
Or she'll have the Aurora Institute do it. And then, but yeah, you got a big show coming up. It's going to be phenomenal. I was so happy to be able to be a beta tester and experience it
And
myself.
I was glad to have you.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, so Boston will just call the Aurora Institute on us. The biggest inspiration to Dystopia was Richard Beckham's book, The Running Man. I could see that. I
Yeah.
could definitely see that in there. Going Aurora, while you're here, going into it, did you have an idea for those clips that you cut to throughout, or was that like an afterthought and you just went searching? Because that was a lot of clips to go and find and put in, and they were beautiful. They were all
They were brilliant.
Yeah.
Like, holy fuck. Like like cartoons, like all of the like the commercial clips. It was just it all screamed like 80s, 90s, like early 90s nostalgia to me, and I was just in love with it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to wait for him to answer, and then after that, I think we're going to wrap it up because I got an early day tomorrow. Cool. You got one book, Trails, Tales, Tacos? All right. And so, yep, they answered Thomas's question. With that, everybody, thank you for joining us and hanging out for a while. That guy, thank you for coming up and being the co-host.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's always great having you up here. And Boston, hope you feel better. Everybody that's been watching, thank you for your support. Remember to hit like and share, and make sure that we got the likes up on the Dystopia video. And thank you, Aurora Institute, for allowing us to have it on there. It was a very fun watch. I've seen it, I think, like 4 times now. I really do enjoy that movie. So
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm probably gonna go and watch it again, like after we get off. Like that was wild.
That soundtrack is just fucking flawless.
Yeah, fire, 100% fire.
Yep. So, all right, everybody, have a good one, and we will be seeing you soon. This week, we got a couple more lives coming for you. So,
hoorah!
All right, we'll talk to you. Bye.